Htee, you have gotten a lot of good evidence here, and I want to start out. You're kind of summarizing in the beginning here this introduction, and this thesis could be a little bit more general. You're trying to give some main ideas, and all I need to know is that there's social and emotional effects in a general way, and then you're going to explain them later on down here. Then, this paragraph near the end, it should really be right after the introduction. This is where you're talking about why cohabitation is a big new change in society and exactly how it's increased. So I don't think, like this quote right here, cohabitation has increased. That probably doesn't really need to be quoted. You can paraphrase that and give the same idea without using a quote. But you can mention these authors, only their last names, Osborne, Manning, and Stock. We don't need anything else, just last names in the MLA system. And this is a very good, this statistic here is very good. So it's been increasing a lot. We're not sure totally why. That's not really important exactly. But if you want to guess about why, it's up to you. Your paragraphs are all very similar. You start out with kind of a topic sentence, and then you give a quote, and then you comment on the quote in some way. So the topic sentence needs to use very general language. So, for example, here in this, it's your first paragraph. I don't know why you said, as you can see. We can't see anything because you're just starting to explain that. So take that one part out. Children who grow up with cohabitating parents are different than children who grow up with married parents. Okay, that's very general. But I think you're talking about, in this paragraph, you're going to comment in a general way with emotional issues and social issues. So it'd be nice to put those words into the topic sentence. Now, when you give the quote, what you have to do is you have to introduce the quote. So you would say, Wilcox stated that, and then give the quote, and then the number 11. And then comment on the quote if you want. This quote here is kind of like his thesis statement because he's covering so many issues in this one sentence. But all of them look bad, negative. They seem like problems. So the problem with this this paragraph about all the problems is that it's covering so many different things that it's hard to, I would really prefer not to try to do this all in one paragraph, but try to separate them and show what is the proof, what is the evidence. In these body paragraphs, you need to be getting down to the details and the numbers and the proof, but you really haven't done that here. This kind of sentence could be used at the end of the paper. It could be paraphrased in some way. Now, in these other paragraphs, you are getting into real good details, 4.3 times. And when you explain this, they are more likely to suffer abuse. We don't need this NIC, but we need to know where this came from. So the name of the author is the best thing, or else the title of the report. And then normally, what you could do is comment, how serious is this? How bad is this? Of course, sexual abuse, physical abuse is very serious, very bad, and dangerous, like you said here. And then, is there any logical connection? Why would cohabiting seem to cause this? And the problem in this kind of research is that maybe the people who are likely to cohabit, those kind of people, are also the kind of people who cause these other problems in parenting. But maybe it's not the cohabiting itself that's doing it. And this is the problem in this correlational research. So you're kind of it's getting a little bit better in this paragraph, but like I said, you cannot start the sentence usually with the quotation mark. You have to start it by saying these authors or these researchers or Goodwin, Mosier, and Chandra reported or concluded or found that, and then at the end you just give the page number that it came from. So we can easily find this in the works cited. But here, what I like here in this one is you're commenting a little bit more about what the connection is between this cohabiting and this other bad behavior. You know, it's cohabiting, people who cohabit probably do a lot of bad things. They probably smoke, they probably drink, whatever. But it doesn't mean that it was the people suffered directly because of cohabiting. So I think you found a lot of bad things about cohabiting, and so I can tell in your conclusion that you're really against it, and you're kind of summarizing it here. But I need to hear a little bit more about your attitude toward it. Maybe it's not always terrible. Maybe there are some benefits in it. Obviously, many people who cohabit are not having children. So the ones who do have children are kind of they might be a special group, possibly. So I think in your introduction, you should be talking about why cohabiting. Just some general thoughts about the fact that it is increasing and why it might be increasing. And then in your thesis, you'll say that it seems to have these negative effects in the family life and children's development and home relationships, all these things. And then you'll explain them piece by piece the way you did here. But you don't need to be totally negative. Maybe you will find something possibly positive about cohabiting. I'm not sure. This research seems very negative, that it's really bad. You don't have to take such a strong position or opinion to judge it. You just have to look at the facts in a very direct and plain way. And by the way, some of these effects here might be relatively small. Now, the one that said 4.5 times, that is quite a large effect. But up here, they're more likely to be killed by their partner, and a third more violence than those who are continually married. Okay, a third more, that's like 33% more violence. Well, that is kind of serious, but you're looking at all the married people versus all the cohabiting people. So it's hard to say how serious that is, and are more women actually dying? So you have to, down here you said that they get killed and murdered, but up here you just said that they had more violence. Murder is different than violence, so if you can actually report the number murdered, then it would be a stronger case. So I think what your conclusion probably is going to be is something about how couples should be very careful about before they make a decision to cohabitate, especially if they're planning to have children and it is associated with risks and negative and harm for family members. That is what you seem to be saying here. But at the same time, why is it so popular? Well, it's popular because people are not ready to get married, and for different reasons. They think it's easy and fast. And so normally in a paper like that, you would be kind of balancing some of the attractions of cohabiting compared to some of the problems that are associated with it. And instead of just saying bad effect, bad effect, bad effect, that's not looking. Look at the whole picture and talk about it more from, in a general way, how you see things, especially in the introduction, the conclusion, and then your little comments at the end of body paragraphs. So I think you've got a pretty good start on this paper, and I'm looking forward to seeing it develop more.